Hello everyone and welcome to our live coverage of NROL-69 mission launch from the Space Coast, that is from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming SpaceX launch. If it's your first time here, hi, my name is Deepto Mitra. I'll be your friend and host providing commentary for today's mission launch. And you are watching AstroYonder Live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
Today's mission is NROL-69 for the National Reconnaissance Office, also referred to as the NRO. Currently, we are waiting for a Falcon 9 liftoff at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station for SpaceX launching the NROL-69 mission, which will follow a northeast trajectory this time. This is the NRO's first mission launch with SpaceX from the National Security Space Launch Phase 2 contract. Or also known as NSSL Phase 2 contract, which was awarded back in August 2020. Now, previously, NRO and the U.S. Space Force Space System Command, also known as SSC, launched two NSSL Phase 1A missions with SpaceX from Vandenberg Space Force Base with NROL-87 and NROL-85 back in 2022. Now, unlike the previous 8 consecutive NRO missions we witnessed, 6 last year and 2 this year, which involved launching the proliferated architecture reconnaissance satellites, today's launch does not include any of them and will contribute to NRO's proliferated constellation and will not, it will not contribute to NRO's proliferated constellation. Instead, it will feature a traditional but fully classified NRO payload. Now, just a reminder, the recent NROL-57 launch from the Vandenberg was the NRO's 8th proliferated architecture reconnaissance satellite launch and the second for this year. But NRO is mentioning that today's launch will be the 5th NRO launch for this year. But as per the disclosed count, it should be the 3rd one, with including today's one. Don't know how they are counting 5. Maybe 2 are undisclosed to us. But anyways, the proliferated architecture, as we know, is the constellation of different spy and relay satellites based on SpaceX's Starshield. Also, it's a joint venture of SpaceX and Northrop Grumman building the payload together. But as today's NROL-69 launch is bereft of any proliferated architecture satellites, today's flight carries a national security payload specifically designed, built, and operated by the National Reconnaissance Office. NROL missions provide critical information to more than 500,000 government users, including every member of the intelligence community, 24 domestic agencies, nations' military, lawmakers, and decision makers. Now, before moving on to the mission details, firstly, on behalf of AstroYonder team and moderators, we express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for being a part of today's launch. We really appreciate you being here. A big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for being here today as we provide detailed coverage of space launches. complete with extensive stats and thorough insights. Right now, we are super excited bringing you the coverage of NROL-69 launch, marking the 34th Falcon 9 and SpaceX's 36th launch of this year. NROL-69 also marks the NRO's 77th launch since public disclosure of launches began back in December 1996. This mission also marks the 13th NRO launch on a Falcon 9 rocket. Now, before moving on, would like to welcome one of our moderator here joining us, Pop Tripika. Thanks for keeping your word, Pop Tripika, and joining us. And yes, today weather is favorable and we are having 90% go for the launch. Although there is, well, I'm coming to that weather section right now. Meanwhile, you all enjoy the stream and I hope I can add some value to your viewing experience. Also, just a reminder, it's me running the show for our launches. So if by chance we hit any technical issues, hang tight. There is nothing to worry. I will do my best to walk you through the Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in approximately 39 minutes from now. So now let's get back to today's mission. So far, SpaceX reports that the weather is looking good for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. We are having 90% chance of favorable weather conditions for the launch with 85% cloud cover and a wind speed of 9 miles per hour. Weather officials are keeping a keen eye on the weather with the concerns related to thick cloud layer rule violation. Today, that's the only one launch violation that has to be tracked. Once again, just a reminder, SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Time, 17:48 hours UTC on Monday, that is March 24th. So now let's get back to the main details of the today's mission. Let's start that with the payload details we have. Today's mission is the NROL-69 for the National Reconnaissance Office, also referred to as the NRO. This mission is NRO's fifth launch of 2025 as per the NRO's own words, but the count suggests it's the third one. And it's the first of this year in partnership with United States Space Forces Space System Command. So many S's are there. And we don't have any images of the payload as it's a classified launch, but on your screen you can see some declassified images of the NROL-129 and early SOS satellite and the NROL-111 payload images, just to provide some rough idea regarding how the payload looks. For today's payload, this is the NRO's first mission launch with SpaceX from the National Security Space Launch Phase 2 contract, or the NSSL Phase 2 contract awarded back in 2020. Previously, NRO and the U.S. Space Force System Command, also known as SSC, launched two NSSL Phase 1A mission with SpaceX from Vandenberg Space Force Base with NROL-87 and NROL-85 in 2022. It's worth mentioning that both the NROL-87 and the NROL-85 missions had their first stage booster land making their landing at landing zone 4 in Vandenberg. Please excuse me, and which also performed the RTLS operations just like the previous mission and as of today's mission will be. As the payload stack weighs less with reduced number of satellites launched and will be launching this time in today's launch, guess this would explain why the booster is able to perform a RTLS operation. Although that's my speculation, don't know the technicality about this, as because this is a classified mission, we all know. Now, the Space and Missiles Systems Center, SMC, in partnership with the National Reconnaissance Office, also known as the NRO, awarded 4 national security space missions to Space Exploration Technologies, that is SpaceX, and United Launch Alliance, that is ULA, under the Phase 2 launch service procurement contract on March 9 back in 2021. The SMC, that is the Space and Missile Systems Center launch enterprise, awarded USSF 36 and NROL-69 to SpaceX, both using the Falcon 9 launch vehicle, and the USSF 112 and USSF 87 to ULA, both using the Vulcan Centaur launch vehicle. The SMC issued SpaceX task order for USSF 36 and NROL-69 for $160 million, which include basic launch services and the mission integration for USSF 36, and only the basic launch services for NROL-69, that is for today's mission. For today's mission, the NRO will fund its mission integration separately on its own. Although according to some unofficial sources, the target orbit appears to be approximately 65 degrees inclined, which could hint that it's a part of naval ocean surveillance system or the next pair of intruder class ship locating spacecraft. But on the other hand, there are some other sources which mention satellites or a satellite, we don't know whether it's many or one, will have an target inclination of in between 53 to 65 degrees as compared to the proliferated architecture satellites, which have 69.7 to 71.6 degrees. And the low Earth orbit will be having between 636 miles and 758 miles in altitude. But again, this is not officially confirmed. So that's all we have for the payload to talk about. So now let's quickly move on to the booster supporting today's NROL-69 mission launch. Well, we don't know anything about that Pop replica. Hopefully, at least that much of details we could have known. But of course, when it comes to security of the nation, it's better that we forego that. I think this camera is flickering, no? Just let me 1 second turn off the camera and turn it back up. Why is it happening? I just updated the OBS yesterday. I think again for that. With each update, I'm get scared out of the hell. Anyways, so the booster with the tail number 1092 supporting today's mission is the young one with only one previous flight in its record, including one Starlink mission, that is the Starlink Group 12-13 mission from here at Slick 40. As of now, no non-Starlink mission being supported by this booster, currently awaiting its second flight just 30 minutes away from now, and we are approximately 20 minutes away from the webcast to begin. The booster's turnaround time as of today is 26 days, and previously, as we all know, with the NROL-57 mission, the 8th batch of the proliferated architecture, the supporting booster with tail number 1088 on its fourth flight made a new record for the quickest booster turnaround time of 9 days, 3 hours and 39 minutes to be specific. And it was between the SpaceX and NROL-57 mission, reducing the previous record by around 4 days, which was 13 days, 12 hours and 34 minutes, which was held by the booster with tail number 1080 on its 13th flight between Starlink Group 6-69 and 12-1 missions. Now, just a reminder, the last mission supported by today's booster was the Starlink Group 12-13 from here at Cape Canaveral on 26th of February this year. So that's about the booster. Now let's have a look at the bar graph showing number of Falcon 9 launches each year. Before today's launch, SpaceX completed its 33rd Falcon 9 launch for this year with the NROL-57 mission launch from Vandenberg on 20th of this month, that is March, which obscures the number of annual launches made till year 2021. Now with today's launch of this another NROL mission, which is a non-proliferated architecture NROL mission, you can say it's a traditional one, the NROL-69 mission. The bar graph depicts 34 Falcon 9 launches for 2025. SpaceX is now less than halfway, approaching to the number of launches made in year 2022. And previously, SpaceX, as we know, completed 132 launches of Falcon 9 last year, marking a year with the highest annual launches to date for SpaceX. Possibly this year, we could see around 180 Falcon 9 launches, according to Elon's previous tweet. Now, let's move on and briefly step through the trajectory for today's mission with the NROL-69 classified payload on board the reconnaissance satellite or the satellite. Falcon 9 will lift off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station for a somewhat northeasterly trajectory away from Florida's Space Coast, heading into its designated low Earth orbit indicated by that green line on your screen. Although the specific orbit, trajectory and inclination are not known for the classified nature of the NRO launch. The red line you see indicates where the Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation just a little later, leaving the east coast. And this will be again a land landing, just like the previous one, also known as a return to launch site operation at SpaceX's landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. And this will be again a kind of a record for the landing zone, because this will be the 50th landing on landing zone 1 to date and the third one for this year. Now let's talk a little bit about the fairing recovery. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve both the fairing halves from the Atlantic waters, and the two halves of the payload fairing will be recovered farther, approximately 565 kilometers downrange from where the first stage lands on the landing zone. You can see on your screen how a fairing recovery looks like. The recovery vessel shown on your screen is dug in the Atlantic and is also today's recovery support vessel here. Meanwhile, the other recovery vessels Bob and Go Cosmos here at the East Coast and Go Beyond at the West Coast are awaiting their next assignment. Some more images of the close-up of a fairing recovery. Well, Pop Tripika, yes, this RTLS are the coolest one really. Although drone ships are also fine, but if there would have been a drone image for a drone ship landing, that would have been more fascinating, because as we know that with the Falcon 9 first stage landing, even the drone ship is aligns itself for its landing, so we could have seen both the barge and the booster moving simultaneously for their landing. But anyways, well, hopefully SpaceX will have this idea in near future. Now, if you feel we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider giving this video a like. Although I know the camera is flickering for some reason, but still, it really helps YouTube's algorithm bring in more space lovers and rocket fans to discover this stream, helping us to build a community with amazing space enthusiasts like you. Also consider about smashing the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification so that you won't miss any of the upcoming launch, and which will inspire us to work more hard to bring you detailed stream with stats and insights. We would be super grateful for your support. So currently we are 12 minutes away from the webcast to begin. So let's just quickly dive into the stats, and I just skipped the pre-launch timeline and the post-launch timeline. But today in the post-launch timeline, there is a catch that I guess during the SES2, the time gap between the SES2 and SECO2 will be of having 12 seconds generally, which lasts for 2 to 3 seconds, but today that will be lasting for 12 seconds long burn. Now coming to some stats related to today's mission launch. Today's launch marks the 462nd SpaceX's overall launch, which marks the first NRO mission launch with SpaceX from NSSL Phase 2 contract in partnership with USSF Space Systems Command, and the 12th dedicated non-Starlink launch of this year. This is going to be the 449th Falcon 9 launch to date. The second flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission, with tail number 1092 being in action after 26 days. Today's mission marks 34th Falcon 9 launch and SpaceX's 36th overall launch of 2025. This will be the 393rd Falcon 9 Falcon booster reflight to date. That is the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. 241st orbital launch for SpaceX launching from Space Launch Complex 40 and the 296th overall launch from Slick 40. Now moving on to some usability statistics. This launch marks the 377th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. This will be the third landing on landing zone 1 for this year and the 50th landing in total for this particular landing zone, marking SpaceX's 7th ground landing for this year. Second landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1092. And with this mission's first stage landing, SpaceX will be having its 87th overall ground landing, marking 403rd Falcon 9 landing to date and 422nd SpaceX's overall landing to date. As I mentioned before in the previous SpaceX stream, the landing stats for the Falcon 9 and SpaceX's overall landing will not match with the SpaceX's website, as because they are counting that recent failed one during Starlink 12-20 mission. Although that was, to be technically speaking, that was a partial failure of the landing, but I guess they are counting in. But we are not counting that. We count only the successful ones, leaving the partial and the complete failure ones behind. Now, speaking of ground landings, let's look into the stats for landing zone prior to today's mission. These stats for the landing zone for individual landing zone on your screen are excluding today's mission. These are prior to today's launch. And although today's mission doesn't involve off the land landing using a drone ship, but here's a quick look into the stats for the drone ship landing prior to today's mission, so that you will have a rough idea about the drone ship landings being made in total. And Poppy, I've completely forgot to mention. Remember during that lunar simulation launch of the Blue Origin, that time that commentator was saying that the Blue Ring Pathfinder will remain for forever there in the orbit. I hope you got the news that they got to form in a debris in space, that Blue Ring Pathfinder. It was about maybe 1 month or somewhat like that old news, but I just completely forgot to discuss about that. That day we were laughing about how he was saying that this will remain forever and ever on the orbit. It won't even decay for according to him. But anyways, now coming back to some leftover stats, we are just 5 minutes away from the webcast to begin. Also, we are coming near to the end of the stats. With today's mission, SpaceX will achieve its 36th launch of this year, and among those, 22 were Starlink missions. 12 are non-Starlink missions for commercial and government organizations, including today's one, and 2 Starship launches. 33 of these missions used a reuse booster, including today's one. The geographical distributions gives us that SpaceX will be having 24 launches from East Coast. On the West Coast, having 10 launches, that is from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. And as of now, 2 launches from Gulf Coast at Starbase in Texas, with 2 Starship 7th and 8th test flights and 2 super heavy booster catches for both the test flights, which unfortunately lost the upper stage. For landings, they will be nearing it for the 32nd time this year. Most of the landings are on drone ships, with 25 landings being made already. And for ground landings, they will pull off the 7th time, where landing zone 1 will have its 3rd landing this year, including one from today, and landing zone 4 already witnessed 4 landings. As per the trends this year, the landing zone are getting a spike in landings compared to previous year. Now, prior to today's launch, the success rate for ground landings is 98.85%. For drone ship landing, it is 96.54%, and the overall landing success rate is 97%. The landing success rate for this year dropped to 96.88% due to the failure of booster with tail number 1086 to land on the just read the instructions drone ship during the Starlink 12-20 mission. Similarly, previous year it dropped to 99.24% due to a failed landing on a shortfall of Gravitas, which also marked the first landing failure for a shortfall of Gravitas drone ship during the Starlink 8-6 mission. Today's mission is the 98th launch since last mission failure, that is the Starlink 9-3 mission. Again, this page of stats are prior to today's launch, and what we have is 134 launches in a calendar year, the highest annual launches to date, including 2 Falcon Heavy launches being made last year. But if we count in the Starship launches, then it's 138. 97 successful launches since last mission failure with Starlink 9-3 mission. 7 successful landings since last landing failure with Starlink 12-20 mission. Quickest booster turnaround time of 9 days, 3 hours and 39 minutes. 313 mission with at least 1 reused fairing, with approximately 594 number of fairing halves being reused. We are just 1 minute away from the webcast to begin. Here we have this pie chart. With this 60th orbital launch of this year, United States is leading with 39 launches, followed by China with 14 launches, Russia with 4 launches, and 1 launch each by India, Japan, and Europe, marking their debut for orbital launches this year. Europe could have made its second one, but unfortunately we did saw a scruff for the spectrum for today. And this pie chart showing 2025 orbital launches by rocket variations, including today's launch. Falcon 9 is all set to have its 34th launch. And I guess it's time for the webcast to begin. So let me just quickly, yes, it started. So let's move ahead as it's time for webcast to begin. Now, just a reminder, As per NRO's request, we will not be getting views of the payload or the second stage, and the webcast will be ending just after the first stage landing. Now, please allow me to quickly set up the stream for you guys. Right now, SpaceX is playing some music. Let them finish with that, and I will be patching in the audio feed for you guys. I'm keeping finger crossed, Paprika, but I hope that they will provide us a stream. Really, it's disheartening that why they are not providing a stream for the initial launch of a launch vehicle that's also being in a production phase for last 7 years. And really, I was stunned at how people were crazy about its launch, but why they are not looking into this side of the sentiments of us that we do want to watch the first inaugural launch of a launch vehicle for the, like, it's really fascinating that first time you are watching a launch vehicle to have its first flight. Although, as I said on the stream, I did went on their X handle and did said on a comment to have a stream set up, and hopefully there will be. Yes, and Paprika, you can just go through the comment section of their updates giving on they're providing on X. Everyone is like unhappy with this behavior of them. Some are mocking them, some are even saying that this is how you lose fans. But actually, it is so. If they won't be listening, and it's not today we are saying, and today they didn't. From the very first time they said they will be launching, people are expecting that they will be streaming. And for the very reason I made the stream to be on our channel. But later on today, with time, I got to realize that they won't be having any stream. And really, I was feeling such bad and guilty that I made everyone down. So many people came, so many people were waiting, but I couldn't have any chance. So here is the stream. Just couple of more seconds to go and I will have the audio feed for you guys. Now coming up, the Fram 2.1 is the new trending. That Fram 2.1 is having variable 3 to 5 days mission duration, and this one won't be having any EVA unlike the Polaris Dawn. But it will be a little bit of like inspiration for mission. And there we go.
Good morning and welcome to the NROL-69 launch webcast. The Falcon 9 rocket carrying today's payload is currently awaiting liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40, or SLEC 40, at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida in just about 8 minutes from now. Hey everyone, my name is Soumya Srivastava and I am a structures engineer here at SpaceX. Today's mission carries a national security payload designed, built, and operated by the National Reconnaissance Office, or the NRO. This mission continues the NRO's cutting-edge capability of building and developing the U.S. government's largest satellite constellation in history to deliver critical information that can only be obtained from the vantage point of space. Both the range and vehicle are currently green, at the moment, and we are on track for an on-time liftoff at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Time. As a note, we will not be showing any Stage 2 or payload deployment views at the request of our customer. But there's still a lot to cover, so for now, let's meet our Falcon 9 rocket.
Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Lionquist and I'm an analyst for Starlink. Today is the anniversary of SpaceX's first launch ever, Falcon 1 Flight 1, which lifted off from Amalek Island on March 24th, 2006. Though it didn't complete its mission, SpaceX has come a long way since then.
Engine chill has started.
Falcon 1 made its final flight in 2009 before it was retired, but it paved the way for our trusty Falcon 9 rocket, which has supported 448 launches to date. Falcon 9 is a two-stage rocket developed and manufactured by SpaceX, known for its safe, reliable, and cost-effective access to space. It is
Just I'm interrupting you guys in between. You guys enjoy the stream. Meanwhile, I take a break, and when the webcast will coming to its concluding phase, I will again come back to join you guys. Now enjoy the stream.
50 launches and over 380 reflights. And today, the booster will be attempting to land back on land at Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station.
Stage 1 RP-1 load is complete.
Rapid reusability drastically reduces launch costs, helps increase launch frequency, and enables a wide array of new government, commercial, and scientific opportunities in space. Lowering the cost of access to space is helping take humanity's next steps into the solar system, whether in LEO, GEO, interplanetary, or even deep space. When costs are lower, government and commercial customers can launch more missions, which helps accelerate development. This also helps commercial satellite and private research customers afford to launch more projects to space, which helps stimulate innovation here on Earth. And missions like SpaceX's transporter and bandwagon rideshare programs help make access to space even more affordable by sharing the cost of a single launch across many customers. All of this is to say, reusability is the key innovation that is making space more accessible for the industry as a whole. Back to today's mission. Weather is still a wash item, but we'll let you know if there's any updates.
Coming up shortly, the Transporter Erector, or TE, will retract away from the Falcon rocket.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressing for strongback retract.
The TE is the large truss structure you see there next to the vehicle. So first, the clamps will open up, which should be in about 25 seconds from now. And then after that, that will make way for the retraction of the strongback. You may hear the TE referred to as a strongback from the launch team, and it does a lot of heavy lifting in the lead up to launch. It's designed to transport, raise,
Strongback retract has started.
and support Falcon 9 at the launch pad. The TE is also equipped with umbilicals or flexible lines that are used to route the vehicle's fluids, power, and telemetry from the ground systems to the rocket and payload until Falcon 9 switches to internal power and clears the pad. So we have a great view there of the clamp arms opened up. And the strongback will slowly begin to recline away from the vehicle. Now, at this point in the countdown,
Countdown 1, this is LD, pulling ND for status check.
Now, at this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of rocket-grade kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Both the first and second stages should finish propellant loading about a minute apart from each other, with the first stage finishing up at the T-minus 3 minute mark and the second stage finishing at around the T-minus 2 minute mark. With the first, as you may have noticed, there are white clouds forming around the vehicle, and those clouds are comprised of the chilled gas above the LOX tank that is vented overboard to maintain pressure in the tank as needed. And when that vented oxygen mixes with the warmer outside air, it condenses into clouds. At T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup, and this means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers will have taken over the launch countdown. After that, just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, we will light the 9 M1D engines for liftoff. Just heard confirmation of LOX load completion on the first stage. The payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is still looking green, and the range is ready to support our T0 of 1:48 p.m. Eastern Time. And with that, we are proceeding into the last few minutes of terminal count.
So for our next major milestone, we are waiting for the call-out of second stage LOX loading completion.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Great call-out, there it is. So the first and second stages are now fully loaded with over 1 million pounds of rocket-grade kerosene, fuel, and liquid oxygen. We're standing by now for confirmation that Falcon 9 is in startup at the T-minus 1 minute mark.
Ground the gas closeouts.
Here's the confirmation of the gas closeouts beginning. You might notice an increase in white cloud formation near the vehicle. This is the result of a nominal groundside process where the TE liquid oxygen feed line is vented down ahead of liftoff.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
At this point, the autonomous flight computers have taken over the launch countdown, and stages 1 and 2 are pressurizing for launch. Finally, we're waiting for the final go directive from the launch director.
MD is go for launch.
At T-minus 32 seconds, all systems are go.
30 seconds. Seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignitions. Engine full power. Go NROL-69. Go Falcon. Go SpaceX.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
So here I am back, guys. We are T plus 30 seconds into the flight.
At T plus
We are right now in the throttle bracket, throttling down the 9 Merlin engines, preparing for the period of maximum dynamic stress coming up. We did got some good callouts. Power and telemetry is nominal. Again, today we won't be getting any payload and second stage views as per NRO's request. And we did got the call out for vehicle being supersonic, which means we have exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9. And we did clear the Max Q call out as well. Next up, it will be the MVAC engine chill, and it did happen. We started the process of chill down of the MVAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition just after stage separation. Coming up will be 3 events in rapid succession. The shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff or MECO, followed by stage separation and ignition of the second stage MVAC engine for the first time, also known as SES-1, which will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. Just after stage separation, the booster will undergo a flip maneuver using cold gas thrusters and perform a boost back burn towards the launch site. So let's see to the callouts.
stage or the payload at the request of our customer.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
And back ignition.
Stage 1 boost back startup.
And there we go. We have all the back-to-back callouts, and we are getting good views from the stage 1. And this pushback burn should last around 54 seconds according to the launch timeline. Right now, the nitrogen thrusters is now beginning to reorient the first stage, and sooner we will be able to see the hypersonic titanium grid fins to begin deploying by the command issued by the flight computers. We did call out for the fairing separation. And there we go. We have the stage 1 boost back shutdown. And these are these nitrogen gas bursts reorienting the first stage, which will rise the first stage towards the apogee before descending back towards the landing site on the landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And the grid fins being deployed to steer the Falcon 9's first stage. During this part of the flight, first stage solely relies on its grid fins as it steers returning back to Earth. The grid fins helps orient the Falcon 9 during re-entry and guide its descent. You can see how the Falcon 9's first stage is reorienting itself if you keep the Earth as a perspective. While we are currently viewing the first stage, you may occasionally see this burst of nitrogen gas from the first stage for altitude control. These are basically used to position the vehicle as it heads back towards the drone ship. And Bob Topeka, why I said that they won't be, actually your question was quite interesting. But every time you will see they have a trend. SpaceX is having a trend that they will target a number of launch for each year, annual launches, but they come close to that. Of course, there are several reasons for which they can't, and they are valid ones. But for that trend to keep up with, that's why I said that the Falcon 9 maybe reach closer to the 1,000 launches before retiring. Now we are waiting for the stage 1 entry burn startup call out, where we will be relighting 3 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Right now you can see the speed of the first stage, it's increasing, but the stage 1 entry burn will start to lower the speed of the first stage as it descends back towards the landing zone 1. Yes, until Bob Topeka, they are not getting sure for the Starship and Falcon. And we have the entry burn start up, and this will last around 20 seconds. And you can see that we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere from the bottom left hand side of on your screen from the telemetry. Stage 1 entry burn shutdown, and I'm again patching in the audio feed for you guys so that you can hear if they will be providing us some rumble for the first stage to land back.
During ascent and descent. At liftoff, Falcon 9's first stage has thrust greater than 5 747 airplanes at full power. Should be expecting the final burn in about 10 seconds from now.
Stage 1 transonic.
Stage 1 SES is saved.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing bird.
We are now waiting for Falcon 9 to land at landing zone 1.
Awesome daytime tracking views for the Falcon 9 first stage, making its way back to the landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. And there we go. I guess you heard that sonic boom.
Landing was deployed.
Impact shutdown.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there you heard the call out for a successful landing of our Falcon 9 rocket.
And there you have it. We have successfully made the 403rd landing of an orbital class Falcon 9 rocket. Coming up next, we will have the second stage engine cutoff, that is SECO 1. And following that event, the second stage will enter about 38 minutes of coast phase as the vehicle ascends to its target orbit. Now, as about the payload deployment, at T plus 46 minutes and 26 seconds, the second stage MVAC engine will reignite for a long 12 seconds of burn, which I was mentioning, that is SES2, and turning it off at T plus 46 minutes and 38 seconds, that is SECO2, which will set up the classified NRO satellite deployment. The specific deployment time for the payload is undisclosed due to the classified nature of the mission. So this we were waiting for the first stage to land back at the landing zone 1. Today's launch marks SpaceX's 462nd successful mission, with the landing marking their 422nd success. With that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. But before that, I want to thank you all for wherever you are watching our live coverage. We really can't do this broadcast without you. Thank for your perpetual support of what we do here at AstroYonder. And be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happenings in space industry and updates on upcoming launches. And we do provide the stats for Falcon 9 launches, at least for SpaceX launches, on X handle. So if you are interested, you can check it out. Hope you enjoyed the stream. We once again appreciate everyone joining us for today's launch. Wishing you a nice week ahead. Hopefully sooner we will be getting an update regarding the launch date and time for ESA's Aerospace Spectrum launch on its maiden flight. And if and only if they think of our sentiments this time, they may have a live stream for the same. Once again, thanks for watching. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Deepto, signing off for now, and we will see you next time.